So number one, we're looking here at video assessment and the way in which I've used video assessment within a class that's really run for a year. So you've asked first of all that I could describe my teaching idea. Well, really the aim of the project really was to look forward in preparation to an assignment that the students have to do at the end of the academic year. So we start right at the very beginning in their very first class, and on day one, which is probably the most important thing, so day one they don't get any choice, they go straight into video. So basic overview of the process is going to be this. Well, day one, which is the most important day of all, I really familiarise themselves with the potential without giving them fixed ideas on format really. So I get them to prepare a short presentation that's going to be delivered on site. And you can see that we've got fantastic surroundings around here, and that encourages these students to stay outside. What I'll then do is edit it later on and use plenty of outtakes, which they absolutely love, and then we'll show it the following week with all the mistakes and everything, and it just gives them a chance to enjoy what's going on. Then about halfway through the course, what we do is they have to plan a one-take, no-edit video presentation, and that lasts about 2 minutes. And then what they do is they come back in later on, they show us all, and then they produce the PowerPoint to fit with the talk rather than the talk to fit with the PowerPoint presentation, and that just helps to shuffle it all up a little bit more. And then the final part of the plan is the main thing that they're working towards, the assessment they'll have towards the end of the year, where they plan, they script and they storyboard a film, and then they edit their presentation in accordance with the assessment requirements. It's then shown to the rest of the class and it's marked for technical content, and then we have a bit of peer appraisal really for its capacity to communicate. And then of course at the end of the time the resulting videos or multimedia extravaganzas if you like can then be uploaded onto the VLE and used as a teaching resource. So what was the approach? Well, you asked me really to think about why I tried that approach. Well, I suppose the reason is the students are training to become managers in the countryside, and they'll be working outside and having to present key aspects of the management of this land, this landscape around us, process to their supervisors, maybe their peers, certainly the public. And that's quite a tall order for some of the young students that we've got. And their final assignment is really all about giving a short presentation that links the botanical characteristics that we spent the year talking about, and perhaps the soils as well, and tying them to the ecology really and the life characteristics of a particular species. Now in the past what they've done is to produce a PowerPoint, and if we're honest about it, PowerPoints just get a little bit samey after a while. They tend to use the PowerPoint to lead into what it is they're saying, and I wanted it to be the other way round, that the PowerPoint is very much a support. So the text is used to back up what it is they're saying rather than to lead it on. What I'm trying to get my students to do, I've got three main objectives. One of them is to get out and about to give their presentation, so they're done in the field as this is today, and it emphasises the characteristics that they can find out in the environment. I also want them to practice their public speaking skills, and that's something that they often struggle with. Their hands are all over the place, they get tongue-tied when they know somebody's looking at them, and I want them to become familiar with the camera and rather blasé but really about the camera, so that they ignore it and get on with what it is that they're supposed to do. But I also want them to get to use a range of technologies perhaps that they might not have encountered before, in order to make resources that are enduring and versatile really, and have a range of different uses. And that's what's nice about video. Video is a fabulous medium really for allowing the personality of the students to come through. They sort of shine through. Some of them are absolutely outrageous, and even the quieter ones do fine. The group I selected for this first trial really, although I've run it with several other groups since, range in ages really between 17 and 55, and they've got a range of life experiences from school to one of them ran a multinational company. The usual FE mix that you've got of dyslexia, we've got graduates, we've got natural showmen, we've got the shy and the near silent, we've got the techie geeks, we've got the whole lot thrown in one class, but they're all training to be countryside managers. Some of them have got extensive IT skills, but others have got absolutely none at all. They can't even use a word processor. They've come straight out of perhaps self-employment in a very practical line of work. So it's a great opportunity to introduce them to some of the things that we can do using modern technology without them getting really put off by too many button presses and too much time spent in front of the computer trying to make it all come together. And it gives them the opportunity to get things right first time rather than doing it all in post-processing. I also usually find that those that have got great skills in, say, the practical areas often don't have particularly good IT skills, and perhaps some of the quieter, more shy and retiring kids have often got much more skill in terms of IT, and these groups often get in great demand for each other. So when you're doing a presentation that involves a bit of practical work, involves demonstrating things, editing it all together and compiling all of the different resources and scripting and storyboarding, all of those skills, well, every student is in great demand for what they can offer, and so the groups tend to amalgamate themselves beautifully together. And really, it's a good way as well of getting the shy students out. Many of the shy, quieter students often don't want to have anything to do with it at the beginning, but by the end they're having a whale of a time. So how does it work? Well, in the first case, the stage one really is to keep it really simple. In their very first class, I just take 2 first-generation flip cameras and allow the students to volunteer to be cameramen. The students are given about 20 minutes with very little previous context, because I don't want to give them any preconceived ideas as to how it should be done. And they research a given plant group, in this case, and find examples around the college campus of these plants in their natural context and habitats, so that they can link the biology in a very rudimentary way, because remember, it is their first class and they haven't really had any lessons in the topic, so it's just what they can see and what they can work out. Now, I selected the basic flip cameras because they work in what we call H.264 video, and that can be really easily edited in Windows Movie Maker. We've got XP here at the college, so it gives them the ability to be able to edit it anywhere in the library themselves, and I want them to have access to that technology right at the very beginning. It's very simple stuff. It also allows them to mix in music, they can do lots of editing, they can add credits, they can put overlays, text overlays, and it's a very easy thing to do if that's all the technology that they've got. And we know that that is accessible to them all. And it's easy for me to demonstrate it in the classroom, irrespective of which classroom that is. I don't have to be in a specific room, as long as it's got a PC and a projector, then we're fine at going ahead with that. The other thing is that it also generates Windows Media video files, which are really small. They're very acceptable to the Windows environment that we work in, and they're dead easy to upload onto Moodle and to Blackboard, and they don't take up too much space, so the students can be playing around with them and work reasonably effectively without being tripped up by the technology. About halfway through the year it's a bit different, because what I'll then do is I'm going to give them whatever flip cameras I can get hold of. So it might be an HD one like I'm using today, or it might be one of the lower generation ones. It really doesn't matter too much. And I give them the single camera in small groups, and they have to go and prepare a presentation, but they have to do it all in one shot. They're not allowed to edit it up later on together. They have to do it all in one go, right the way through from beginning to end. Now, they might have 2 or 3 goes at doing that, but the aim is that it should be unedited, so they get their mixing and their scripting right, they get their work plan sorted out and their storyboarding, and trying to keep it as efficient as possible on the day. And then they come back and they show it to everybody within the group, and then afterwards they get a chance to put other resources around it. and it gives them experience really of what happens when they speak too quietly, or if they're talking and they're turning their heads from one side to the other and the volume's going in and out. So it's a really good opportunity for them to experience what happens if they're not focusing on the process too much. Then at the end of the year, that's when it really starts to all come together, because by then they will have experienced using PowerPoint. They will have extracted PowerPoint slides as pings to put into video or anywhere else where they need them. They'll have used Movie Maker on XP. They'll have had experience of combining images, slides, video, perhaps even a little bit of music into a presentation. I also demonstrate Microsoft Producer for PowerPoint. It's a free download, and it really does give the opportunity to produce some fabulous resources, and perhaps we should do another video on that at a later date. And the great thing is, if some of them have got Windows 7 at home, then they get to use the newer version of Movie Maker, or perhaps another bit of software that they've got, and they can use HD footage, and they can put together some really fabulous movies very, very easily. Then, so once they've got that experience, I'll give them their topic. They carry out in-depth research, which might take them several sessions in order to do, and then they all disappear off all over the place while they're doing their filming in situ. So they're going out into various appropriate places to film the plants in their natural habitat, and then they might dissect some in the lab and show them there. The aim is to produce a short 5 to 10 minute presentation really, with supporting materials and resources as well, but where possible to get as much of that online. And then I mark the presentations according to how it meets the specifications of the syllabus, but then they will also do a peer review, fairly informal really, of the communication that is carried out by the resource that's been created. So, you know, does it speak to these different groups of people? What about the language that's been used? What about the backdrops? Is it accessible? Is it technically accurate, sufficiently so for other people, but does it explain the topics? So that's really what we're looking for. Well, the outcome of the process is that, to be honest, I was absolutely delighted by what the students produced. The very first stage, they're often really self-conscious as to what's going on. They don't like really giving presentations. They hate seeing themselves on the screen. But they do love the result, and they love laughing at what each other contributes at. And midway through the course, they've just accepted things, and they're starting to put things together without the self-conscious nature, but we're also using a little bit more creativity. And I got one or two people who were saying halfway through, "Ooh, why can't we use chalk and talk? You know, what's wrong with note-taking and you know, giving us an exam at the end?" But that soon fades away when they realise that what they've actually produced is something that they enjoy showing to other people. And then the final stage draws near, and the groups really, they disappear off into a level of secrecy I've not really seen before, where they don't want any other group to know quite what it is that they're doing and how they're putting it together. And they're really proud of the resources and the work. And in fact, this year, I came in on the Saturday to find them all huddled in the library. They'd all given up their Saturday jobs and everything so they could meet together and make sure that they got it all ready and collated for the week that was coming up. Huge amount of work was put in, not because it was necessary, but because they were so excited about what it is that they were doing, and they absolutely loved it. And actually one of the spin-offs is that they become a wonderful diary and a keepsake, because they're coming to the end of the course and they begin to realise that, and here is something that they can collect together, and it tells them not just what the person looked like that they were working with and other members of the class, but what sort of people they were, what their characteristics and personalities. And they may be cropping up and bumping into these people later on. We never know where they're going to go or what's going to happen to them, and it's a treasure really to be hung on to with these videos.